Hey everybody, Jordan Milhausen here with SnapLogic. Today I'm going to be taking you through Echo, your new AI sales companion. Let's dive in. So the challenge that I saw that every sales team faces come with two major constraints, and those are time and context. So the time that a sales rep has to do these calls, when they're on the call, they have to take notes, stay engaged, and then also ask good, engaging questions all at the same time. And that's difficult to do. And then after the call, they have to summarize, compile their notes, update their CRM when they have the time, because most likely they're jumping from call to call, meeting to meeting. And then on the flip side, the context. So sales leaders, they have to provide feedback for their reps, which are not always contextual. So they might join one call, but they don't have context of all the other calls or all the other meetings that have happened. So it's hard to provide contextual coaching, which brings up the opportunity. So what if your sales teams could capture key sales moments with precision, update CRMs automatically, and coach reps with timely contextual insight delivered straight to their inbox without any added effort? And that is where Echo comes in. So Echo is a Slack native AI sales companion, provides real-time feedback for BDRs, AEs, SEs, and just the sales team in general. It auto updates your CRM, and it is effortlessly scalable across the enterprise. So before we jump into SnapLogic, I want to take a look at the schematics so we can see how this is built. Here you can see the Echo AgentCreator Sales Coach schematic. So we have a chorus call is completed. The first pipeline it hits is that chorus webhook, where it then goes to the Echo driver, worker, and the tool calling, and we'll explain what those mean and the definitions in a bit here. Just know that tool calling within SnapLogic is happening here. And I have this one highlighted red because this is actually a sub-agent. So we'll be able to see how agents talk to agents within SnapLogic, which is nothing more than tool calling. From there, you can see the schematics of the Salesforce Opportunity Manager. Again, it has its own driver, worker, and tool calling. Same exact setup. We'll take a look at those definitions when we get to it. And then from there, taking a look at Slack, the only thing that the user sees when a chorus call is completed is to get a Slack DM message from Echo Sales Coach with the meeting overview, next steps, notes, and some important additional information. From there, we can ask clarifying questions. So this is the most important part. So if we go into the thread of the message and we just bring this over here, I'm just going to hide this a little bit more. We can see I've already asked some questions. I said, what were the use cases? Here's an overview of the use cases discussed during the SnapLogic conversation. You can ask whatever you want, anything you think that you need help in clarifying on the call or any coaching help. So like something like, how could we improve discovery? What's happening in the background is Salesforce opportunity fields are also being updated while this DM was sent to us. And then we get the details on how we could have improved. And so from there, let's jump on over to the next step. Before we jump over to SnapLogic, let's review what the driver pipeline, worker pipeline, and tool pipelines are and what they mean and how they work within SnapLogic. So the driver pipeline is your main orchestrator, your decision maker. So when data comes into what you see here as the record replay, it hits our system prompt and our user prompt, which define how the system will act and what the user asks, whether that's asking an actual question or just defining more parameters. That all gets put together into a package for our pipe loop snap, which is the most important snap when it comes to executing our worker pipeline, which executes our tools. So what happens is once the pipe loop gets activated, the worker pipeline iterates over our tools until the stop condition is satisfied that was defined in our driver pipeline. So as you can see, driver pipeline hits the worker pipeline. The worker pipeline iterates over the tools. As you see here, that's these function generators are executed by the tool calling here. And then each of these tools you see here has an output, which then gets fed back up into the worker, which gets fed back up into the pipeline for the final output. With this, to help visualize this process, I want to jump into our agent visualizer first and foremost. So we're going to look at the execution of our Salesforce Opportunity Manager sub-agent within SnapLogic Agent Visualizer Snap. So let's jump over to there. So you see here, we have our Agent Visualizer Snap, where we have the agent is our Salesforce Opportunity Manager. And you can see here the step 1, 2, 3, all the way up through 7. And you might be wondering, there's more steps than there are tools within your pipeline. Because if you recall back to our schematics, the Salesforce Opportunity Manager sub-agent only had a total of 4 tools. And what's actually happening here is, and we'll click through each of these to see, is we're getting some errors from the tool calling, and the agent is actually thinking how to solve those errors. It's iterating through and thinking what it needs to do based off of generic instructions from our prompt, and it's doing non-deterministic tasks. And so we can click one by one what each of these tools is doing. So the Salesforce read tool, we can can see the reasoning here and then the action. So we can see certainly I'll follow the steps to update the data. And then it's saying, let's retrieve data from the Salesforce tool. So then it creates its own parameters. These parameters are, well, this SOQL query is not defined by the user. So in the system prompt, the SOQL query is not there. All we're doing is saying, here are the parameters, and then here's what you need to find. It creates its own SOQL query. So then we can see, great, we have successfully retrieved the existing data. So if we back up a little bit, we are looking for this medpic information here. And then next, we're looking at the contact ID. So the agent creates another SOQL query where it's looking for the email, and we see it doesn't have a result. So it's like, all right, I need to go back to the drawing board, and we're doing step 3 where it is now saying, we didn't find anything based off of that email, so we need to try another query. And so it does a query based off of name, and you can see the result here. And then we go to step 4 where it says we've successfully found the contact ID. So perfect. So it didn't work for the email, but it actually worked for the name. So we're going to move on to the next step. Then it does the tool calling for the 2 tools it has access to, which are just updating some opportunity fields, which is the medpic information. It's just sales methodology, and then next steps. So there's the 2 things it's updating. And what we have here is it's gathering that information for our final tool call, which is the Salesforce update tool here, where it's saying, okay, finally, let's update the Salesforce opportunity with the new information. But what you can see here is if you scroll down to the results, we get an error. So this max length error of 255. The cool thing about Agent Visualizer is showing the error that the agent sees, and then it is showing how that agent is fixing that error. So you can see under the reasoning, under the final tool call, it seems we encountered an error while updating the Salesforce opportunity. It exceeded the maximum length of characters. Let's try to update the opportunity again with a shortened version of the field. And then from there, we can see the final agent output saying, great, the Salesforce opportunity has been successfully updated, where if we look at the number 5, we can see it was updated with new information after resolving the character limit issue. So this agent is carrying out a few non-deterministic tasks. 1, it's creating its own SOQL query, and then 2, it's fixing its own errors. Stay tuned for part 2, where we dive into SnapLogic and see how this thing was actually built.